Hello, my crafty friends. Chris here, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Central Illinois. Just wanted to drop in. I'm actually going to be playing a little bit with my paper pumpkin today. I'm going to show you how to make the cards as designed in the kit, and then show you just a few alternatives that I've made. Maybe give you some tips for stretching your kit. But before we get started, I did want to remind everybody that they need to check out the last chance list. And also we have the new catalog coming out effective May 4th. Can't show you the inside of it, but I can, show you this gorgeous thing. If you're local and you need a catalog, please message me here or find me on Facebook and message me, and I'll hook you up to get you a catalog. Lots of great things. I've already got mine all tabbed, so it's really easy to find everything. Great format. If you haven't been or heard, it is no longer an annual catalog. Instead, it is May to August of 2026. So the Stampin' Up! Is actually doing 3 catalogs a year now. Instead of the one big annual catalog and 2 minis. Now they're just 3 catalogs, and it has links to everything that you need. Your stamps, your dies, your papers, your punches are all listed in the catalog, as well as all your papers. So it's a great chance to do that. This catalog, like I said, goes into effect on May 5th. That being said, there is a large number of things that are going up a little bit, so now is the time to stock up. Ignore the little ink blotch. I had an in-person card making class yesterday, went very well, but we got a little inky. Had a lot of great fun, but that's there. So there's just a few things that are going up. Feel free to screenshot this. Your basic white note cards and envelopes are going up. The medium white envelopes are going up. The 100 sheet grid paper is actually already sold out. That was 11 by 17. Stampin' Up! Is changing this to a much larger size. So it'll be 17 by 14. So it's going to be a much larger footprint. So it's going from 11 to 7 by 17 to 17 by 14. Probably a lot easier and to use, not just for card making, but for scrapbooking. But the price is also going up on that. Adhesive sheets are going up just a little bit. Your sponge daubers are going up a little bit. Dimensionals, foam adhesive strips, mini glue dots. Like everything in this world, prices are going up a little bit. So that's just there. The current ink pads are going up a little bit. And when they say current, they mean the foam ink pads. So the ones that are a little bit hard to open, but have that hinge opening. Those are going up $2 a piece. Ink refills are going up 50 cents. The new ink cases, which I'm going to kind of flip it this way so you can see it, are actually magnetic now. And so they will be $14 a piece. So they didn't really go up. They're just, it's a different price than the other ones. One thing I will caution with you, these are so much simpler to open. These are great. They're only available in the 5 new in colors right now. But how you had to before kind of push and do it, these literally just pop open to the point where I've tried on a couple of them and I've almost dropped them on my workspace. So just do a little bit of caution, but you can see they're magnetic. It's hanging on by a thread there, and it's not doing anything. I have a magnetic glass board, and so that sticks to it. It makes it so it doesn't move around quite as much. They hook back together so that they seal very nicely. So those will be $14, not really going up, but definitely we can do it. Some of the embellishments are going up. You can see that antique pearls, iridescent pearls, the metallic gems, the rhinestones, linen thread, the twine pack. Those are all going up a little bit. Some of our tools are going up, not really a whole lot. The blending brushes, the brayer, your cutting blades, the heat tool, masking paper. I've been with Stampin' Up! For only 2 years, but I have not seen these things increase in price during that time, so it's not surprising that they'll go up. As we know, the cost of paper has gone up significantly, so there is a slight increase in our designer series paper and the specialty paper. You won't notice a whole lot. One of the big changes, if you like the DSP in the color families, that used to be in 6x6 sheets, It is now available in 12 by 12 sheets. And so that will seem like a cost increase, and there is a slight cost increase, but you're getting 12 by 12 sheets. So you're still getting pretty much the same amount of paper, but it is 12 by 12. So it will help those people that do want to scrapbook and do anything. So just a reminder for that. Just in case you haven't gotten it yet, I don't have my lights on because I'm trying to avoid the glare. The Eyelet Blooms product of the month is still available, as well as March's is also still available. And I believe February's is still available, which was the very bright painted DSP. So, and how this works is if you spend $75 before your rewards, before any coupons that you have, you can get the online exclusive product of the month for only $5. You do have to add it to your cart though, so it doesn't automatically get added to your cart, but it is limited one product per person and one product of the month per order. So if you've already ordered February and March, you can't get those again. And you just need April, you can do that. If you've ordered April and maybe didn't get March's, you can add on March's while supplies last. But you can't add two products of the month to the same order. So if you want both of them, you would have to place two $75 or more orders. A little bit of a pain, but that's just the kind of the way it works. It's their way of making sure. And it is limited to one product per person. That includes demonstrators. So us demonstrators can't, you know, buy it up and hoard them or anything like that. Not that we do that, but sometimes with a stamp set, we'll buy them or we'll buy an extra set to give it away or something. That's not an option for us. And we can't buy it until you can buy it. So we don't even get advance purchase on any of these, where demonstrators usually get an advance purchase so that we can make and takes for different things for you. So I am going to be sharing today's paper pumpkin, but before I do that, I did want to share and tell you that it's not too late if you want to sign up for next month's paper pumpkin. You have until May 10th. It is Sparkling Celebrations. So it includes everything you need to make the card kits. I'm going to flip it over and cheat so I can see what it says. This kit will make 9 cards, 3 of 3 each designs. So that's pretty standard. You'll make 3 each of 3 different designs. And it includes 9 coordinating envelopes. It includes all your pre-cut paper pieces with silver foiling. So that is a little bit different. We haven't had silver foiling in a very long time. It includes gem embellishments and includes your coordinating colors, which include Blackberry Bliss, Coastal Cabana, Daffodil Delight, Melon Mambo. The stamping spot is Misty Moonlight, which is a great one just to have in your stash if you don't already have that color. Night of Navy and Pumpkin Pie. I love it when they include the coordinating colors because I like to add and make alternatives. So a lot of times I will go ahead and cut them in advance. The pre-order date of that is April 11th through May 10th. The way Paper Pumpkin works is it's a subscription. You can pay in advance and you can subscribe for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months if you want. Or you can do like I do. I just pay month to month. My credit card's in there, and then they just charge me once a month and I get this nice little kit in the mail. Once you sign up for Paper Pumpkin and become a subscriber, you also have access to the add-on dies while supplies last. So the dies, the way they work is they release a die set every quarter that coordinates with all of the Paper Pumpkins that are coming out that quarter. So this is this month's or this quarter's die set. But also when you subscribe, you have access to refills of the kit. So refills are usually released if there is enough and the kit doesn't sell out about the 21st of the month. So about 10 days after the kit is charged, you can go in and you can buy a refill. So if you really, really like a kit, you can get that. And the refill basically just includes all the paper and adhesives, but not an extra stamp or ink set. And sometimes there are full kits available. So if you want to share it with a friend or give a gift, once you subscribe, you have access to that and you can purchase past kits. So it's a great opportunity. I've done that a few times where I've gone and bought some past kits and just given them as gifts for people who are just getting started and everything. So let's go ahead and get started with the April kit, which you cannot get unless you sign up for the May, and then you could potentially order it. But this was the May kit. I'm sorry, the April kit. It was called Lakeside Retreat. For those of you that subscribe, thank you. For those of you who haven't, you don't know what you're missing. It's great having a little goodie box come straight to your house. I did a complete unboxing video earlier. You can find that on my YouTube channel. And before I forget, it does help me if you like and subscribe. That lets YouTube and all the bots know that I'm providing whatever kind of product or that it might be interesting for other people to listen to. So that's a great opportunity. But you get this instruction kit or instruction page. And so we are going to make these 3 cards just to show you. And then I have a few alternatives that I've made. So when you open the thing, you can actually see, or open the pamphlet, you can actually see everything, and it gives you step by step how to do that. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out my card bases. So this one requires this card base, and you can kind of see these card bases are double-sided. So that's great if you really like to have the back of your card printed. I like to make alternatives, and so for these projects I don't need the backside to be decorated. So the first thing I am going to do, after turning on my light so you can actually see what I'm doing more, if it'll turn on, there we go, let there be light, is I am going to cut my card bases in half. This is a great way to extend your kit and get a whole bunch more card bases. So I'm going to try and be really tricky and cut all 3 of them and see how well this goes. I do have a new blade in here, so I'm just going to go, and it cut beautifully. And so I am going to go ahead and set those extra 3 aside because I can use these to make other cards at a later time. So I have my card bases, and so I do have a set of just basic white card bases that I can use to make these. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. So we're going to work on number 1. So I need this card front. Okay, and so it does show you, if you look here, it tells us that we're going to stamp Happy Father's Day on one of the pieces, or one of the square pieces. So let's try and punch out what we need. So down here, so when you open it, it tells you what you need. You need a stamping block. It comes with a Peaceful Pine little bitty stamp block. I like to save these either for classes or for giveaways or for prizes. Just because it's more fun, or for a new stamper that's looking for a color. So I am going to pull out my big Peaceful Pine set. And so it says I need this piece, and then it says I need the brown, the fish, some of the gems, so, and some of the different stamps. So here's the stamps. It says I need Father's Day. It looks like I need the cattails, the bird, the stripes, and You're an Inspiration. So I'm going to go ahead and get those blocked up. I probably should have done that ahead of time. I like to just grab a bunch of blocks and make sure that they're all kind of set up. So they come, I had a scrap of paper. So the first thing I did was I stamped my images on a scrap piece of paper, and then I glued that little thin acetate sheet to it just so I can see where everything's at. It's a great way to make sure that I have everything. So they said cattails, this little bitty stripe. I'm going to go ahead and put that on there. I like to mount my things on an angle. Otherwise, my brain gets really confused trying to line this up versus the stamp. So when it's at an angle, I know I'm good. And I needed Happy Father's Day. So I got Happy Father's Day. And You're an Inspiration. There, and the birdies. And see what I did? I didn't lay it down. I kind of forced it on there, and I got This is kind of curved. So you're really kind of better off to just kind of like let it fall and then press it down. So learn from my mistakes. So I'm going to put those up there. We'll need more of those stamps in a few minutes. Which I probably should just go ahead and block them up while I'm thinking about it. I can't remember. Let's see what we need for the other one. So the next one, we also need the happy birthday and older but wiser. So let's do that one. I'm going to do happy birthday. And I'm going to do older but wiser, older, wiser. Actually, it says older, wiser, better. So I'm just going to go ahead and put those. Once again, I kind of forced it down instead of just letting it fall so that it was straight. So we got that. And then the next one, I need Steal the Cat, Tails the Line. I need thanks, Dad, and you're a lifesaver. So thanks, Dad, and you're a lifesaver. So look at that. It uses every single stamp except for the sun, which you could do sun instead of Dad if you wanted to, because not everybody has their dads with them any longer. So got those all set. So all my blocks are kind of set. So I'm going to make sure I'm set to go. You're an inspiration. Okay. So those are all set to go. I'm going to set my stamps off to the side. Now it says I need some pieces. So what I should do is just go ahead and punch them out before I get started. So I've got all 3 card bases. I'm just going to move these up so you can see. So for the first one, I'm going to pull out my supply here. And it says I need the square, the sign, the fish. I'll need some gems, so we'll put those up there. And then I'll need the dimensionals that come with it, but I'm also going to pull out some of my own just so I don't have to open that pack right away. And I need the stripe and the fish. So let's see if I can find the stripe and the fish. I'm kind of going in my little pile here. There's my fish. There's the stripe, or I'm sorry, the plaid. And we can see where these go. So if I'm looking at this piece here, the blue stripe gets this one, or kind of like the shore scene. So I'm going to put that there. And it also gets the bicycle. So I will put the bicycle there. And then the white paneling gets this cabin scene. It gets the 2 oars. So I'm putting these over here. So these punch out really, really simple. Really doesn't leave much hanging chadness. I do see that I have a plank here. And so if I'm looking at my thing, that goes on card number 2. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. I will be honest that sometimes I save these in case I need circles for blending or masking or anything like that. So I'm just going to put that off to the side. For the next thing, I need the square. So I need one of these squares for card number 1. I need this piece, which is kind of like a rounded off one. I already had one punched out. That goes with this one. And then the third card needs another one of the rectangles. So I have that, and they do include extras. So we all make mistakes. It's one of those things. It's a fact of life. So we'll put that off to the side. And then you can see this one needs a brown sign. And so I have that here. This one needs a green punch out. So a green label. Well, I'm not to the labels yet. Let's finish here. That doesn't need, this one needs a blue sign and a circle. So there's the blue in the circle for this one. Set that off to the side. And then we go for our sentiment strips. This one needs a brown one. So I'm just going to set that there. This one needs a green one. And this one needs one of the long strips. And then I have everything punched out that I need so I can set my supplies, except for the other thing that comes with this is a piece of Misty Moonlight colored paper, so that's going to go there. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of set my box off to the side that everything comes in, and I'm going to kind of work in groups here. I'm just setting my stuff off to the side so that I'm set to go when I need to. So here's my card base, and once again I took my card base and cut it apart. You don't have to do that. It's just an extra step, but I'm not even trimming it down, so I'm going to do this. But if we fold this to number 1, so I'm going to kind of go through the directions and do it. It's asking us to stamp Happy Father's Day and this stripe. So I'm going to pull those two, Happy Father's Day, onto my sign. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I am going to put my silicone mat behind it, just so 1, it's easier for you to see it, and 2, that gives me a little bit of cushion. I am on a glass board that I've had for quite a while. It's magnetic. I do have the Stampin' Up! One, but I really like my pink flowers. It matches my room, and sometimes we all need pretty things. So there's my ink pads ready to go. So here we go. I'm trying to get this so you can kind of see everything. Actually, I'm just going to move that. If you need that, I'll put it back at the end. So Happy Father's Day. If we look at the card, it's going to go in the middle, and then we're going to stamp the stripe at the top and the bottom. Then we're going to stamp You Are an Inspiration onto this piece. And then we're going to stamp the cattails and the birds onto our image. So I'm going to just make sure I got all those ready to go. And I'm actually going to do the birds in green, although that's really bothering me. I want to pull out my Misty Moonlight and just do it in that color. But I will follow them exactly like it says. And so it shows you exactly where to stamp everything. And then it actually shows you where to put dimensionals. And so we'll go from that and do that. And you'll see that on some of these, it shows you to use tear and tape or your seal, and where to put dimensionals. It even shows you how many to put. And so some of them is kind of like a mix. And so that when you're done, you have that complete card. So let's just kind of go through. Tap, 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 tap. It is very hard to do this, just so you know, when you're going on a overhead. And I'm going to tap, 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 tap. You can see that brand new ink pad, not really a whole lot that goes on with that. I'm not going to clean those right away because we'll be doing some other stuff. So there's that. And then we needed the You're an Inspiration on the brown. And these are interchangeable. So if you want to do different things, you can do that. So there's that. This is actually going to get put right there. So I'm going to go ahead while I'm waiting before I stamp my other stuff and just put this on the sign, because that way it doesn't get lost. And it's just eyeballing it. I use the seal versus the tear and tape, but they does include tear and tape. So if you're taking this on the go, you don't have to worry about it. Then we come here and it's telling us to stamp our birds here and to stamp an extra set of cattails here. So let's go ahead. We'll tap, tap, tap. We're going to stamp our birds. It didn't look like I had all the ink on there. I just wasn't sure I got a complete image. That's why I held it for a little bit longer. You'll notice I tend to be a quick stamper. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. If it works, otherwise I'll find a way to fix it when I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and close my ink pad for right now. So that's all the stamping that we need to do. The next thing we need to do is break out our dimensionals. They include mini dimensionals. I have some big ones, so I'm just going to go ahead and put some of these on because I think it was easier. This is what I had open on my desk, and I like to use up what I have. And so I'm going to kind of work piece by piece. So this goes on the bottom, and it's going to get laid right here. So let's peel these off. Maybe. I might need to break out my take your pick tool and put my little bitty, once again, pink item there to hold all the little bitty things. Do this. Lay that right there on the card. Now, I should have glued this down to my card base first, and I didn't, but so we're going to do that right now. And like I said, it doesn't take much. You don't have to do this step if you're using the full card. I just chose to try and share the love of my cards and expand the kit a little bit. So there we have that. And then we're going to go ahead and it says, so if you look here, it shows seal on one side and it's popped up on the other. Now the reason for that is that this is already popped up. So when you place this on here, this part's going to be flat and your dimensionals are going to be on this side. It's just so that your card doesn't get too thick. So if you think about it like that, that sometimes helps. So I'm going to add some dimensionals here. Like I said, I'm using large ones. Same thing with the fish. They want it on just one side. And that's going to be the side that hangs off. So you might need to like lay it out just to see. So I'm going to put that there. And the same with the Year in Inspiration. I'm hoping. Let's see if these are going to fit or if I need to break out. Nope, all good. And so then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to add a little bit of dimensional here. Ignore my hands. A little bit here. And a little bit on here. Getting brave here. And if you look at this card, just so you know, it does look like the sign is underneath the Year in Inspiration, which is underneath the fish. So you place the sign first. And I'm just eyeballing it. That looks about right. I'm going to take, did I take the backs off of those dimensionals? I did not. See? You get busy and you don't think, but I had the other stuff down. So then I take this part, Year in Inspiration, that's kind of like at the top banner of the sign. So there's that. And then we're going to do the same thing with the fishy. Perfect for the fisherman or the sportsman in your family. And that card is done. So that's card number 1 that you get. So we're going to move on really quick to card number 2. It'll be the same thing. I'm going to walk through it so you can see we're going to stamp Happy Birthday. So that's this card. So this one gets Happy Birthday. This one gets Older, Wiser, Better. And then everything, it looks like everything is attached with dimensionals except for this strip and this strip. And so we will go ahead and, oh, and then we also need to stamp birds up in the corner and another thing of cattails. So let's do some of that. It was Happy Birthday, Happy Birthday. If you remember, I kind of double inked this, or I double stamped this one. So I do need to be a little bit more careful. Off to the side here, I'm like trying to make sure you can see everything. Just a Happy Birthday. And then I'm going to go to the Older, Better, Wiser. Better move that. And which is why you're glad you have an extra one, because I didn't have that completely inked up. So I'm just going to grab another one. I could flip it over normally, but it's white, and I will save that because I will use it on another card. So let's do this. I think I was trying too hard not to get the other ink on my paper. Much better as I dump everything. And then, so we're going to set those there. We're going to take this and we're going to do the little cattail that they kind of have here. And then we had the birdies that were up in the top corner. again, just kind of like flying there. So that's perfect. So we've got those. And then we're going to add our dimensionals on this piece. And so the bike, the sign, and the Older But Wiser get dimensionals. Everything else does not. So let's add those. And I do have a couple mini ones that I think I'm going to do for this. This one isn't as particular. It lets me do them everywhere. And I lost my large dimensionals. I buried them. So I just, it's easier real estate for me to add, you know, some of these big ones and not have to worry about it. I am going to add one little one at the top of this bike just so it doesn't get too compressed. And we're set to go. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. I'm going to just move. We know these need to be added on with just regular adhesive, as well as this piece. So pull out my card base, because once again I cut it in half. And I'm going to add it on my card front. Just completely lining it up. Maybe. Like that. The blue piece, they actually show the blue piece being popped up with dimensionals. They show that. I'm a little bit worried that it's going to get too thick, so I'm going to skip that part and just do it flat. I get really paranoid because I mail a lot of my cards, and so I don't want them to get overly thick and charge postage. I'm sure it would be fine, but that was just my personal thing. And then we know that this is going to go, if you look, it's not completely centered. It's a little bit higher, and then you have the board directly underneath of it. And a little seal goes a long way. You don't need as much as you think you need most of the time. So you'll see that normally I'm not that brave in doing that over the top of my card, but I was not really thinking. So we'll go ahead and we'll add that piece. And then all that's left is we're going to do the Older Wiser. Goes kind of there. The bike's going to go right above it. And then the happy birthday is in there. I did not put the little dot. I did not put the embellishments on the first card. And so what I'll do is I'm just going to come back and put it on all the cards when I'm done, since we're already this far. And you can see you got lots of these little bitty dimensional confetti floating around. So just kind of, it's a little bicycle parked on the beach. This is a perfect birthday card for masculine or feminine, whichever. This hangs here. And I can pull those things. It does call for 3 of the little dimensionals, which are, I'm sorry, not dimensionals, embellishments. And of course, I'm having a terrible time opening the Ziploc package. I actually destroyed it trying to open it. So it's just got a bunch of these rocks. You can see some are flatter and some have more like a stone look. So, and in this case, it's just all around this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab a couple of these. Doesn't matter. Remember, stones kind of get tossed wherever they do. They should be somewhat straight, but if they're a little off, it's okay. Just provides that little bit of dimensional and nice little shiny feel. And of course, if you're like normal people, I can't resist touching it. So that's card number 2. We'll come back on card number 1. You're going to add a couple stones around the cattail that you did, and then a couple on the dock. And it basically calls for 2 flat and 3 of the rounded. So it's got 1 flat got a little too much gumminess on the end of my Take Your Pick tool. One rounded. If I can. Ignore my hand, just trying to get that in there. Luckily, you have some time to move them. You'll notice I took it right off my glass board. As long as you don't press it down too hard, you should be pretty good. There's my stone. And then it's the same thing over here. It's kind of two flat ones. I kind of lost most of my gumminess when I took that piece off, and so I'm having trouble getting them to pop up. There we go. And I am going to cover that sharp pokey end as soon as I'm done, because I'm sitting here doing this and I'm afraid I'm going to poke myself, because I am just the type of person that would do that. Okay, someone did at my class yesterday remind me that we have this nice little flat end of our tool, which is actually easier for picking up some of these gems and stuff. It is, except when they're stuck on a glass board, but they're easier to kind of like place then. So you can get underneath of them, kind of scoot them off the edge and lay them down. So there's that one. And so now we are on to card number 3, which kind of we'll do the same thing with this one. We'll kind of walk you through that one. So we're going to stamp "Thanks, Dad" on the side. Something fell on my board. So this is going to get "Thanks, Dad." And then it looks like they do some cattails so that it comes out underneath there. So we're going to pull that, and we're going to stamp a few cattails on here. And then it's like, "You're a lifesaver" on this. So we may as well pull those out. And I am going to pull the circle just so I kind of have an idea where I need to put those cattails. So let's go ahead and get those done. And it also calls for that little bitty squirrel like at the top of the sign. So we can go ahead and do that. Open my ink pad again. I'm very paranoid about making sure that my ink pads stay closed, mainly because I've had a lot of mishaps where I stick my hand in them, and I don't like that, or I stick my card in them. I've been known to finish a card and lay the entire thing in a ink pad. So we got "Thanks, Dad." That's done. We've got this little bitty, what I'll call the border. I'm just going to kind of flip this so it's easier for me to see and stamp. That's done. We'll need this one. And then what did I say we need? "You're a lifesaver." So that goes on this. Now I am noticing that when they stamp this, it is stamped off to one side. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp it off to that left-hand side, just to make sure that, because I'm assuming that means that the rest of it is covered. Perfect. And then I've got this, and so I can kind of see that this is here, and it's showing that these are going to come out from underneath of here. So I'm going to kind of do it about like this. Actually, that's really cool. Kind of like that. All right. That takes care of our stamping for this one. Now the rest of it, we're going to look again. Same thing. Dimensionals. This is going on with, needs dimensionals. So let's sort what needs dimensionals. This is going, so we know this is going to get attached to this. So let's do this so it doesn't get lost, because it's one piece. And so once again, you've got dimensionals on the bottom here, but adhesive on the top. The same with the oars. the bottoms get adhesive, and then there's a little bit of adhesive, or the bottoms get dimensionals, the tops just get tear and tape. The Life Vest gets dimensionals kind of off to one side. This gets dimensionals. We talked about that. And then this will get glued directly onto there. So we could do that first to make sure we don't mess that part up. Boom, that's done, just like this is done. So we're going to kind of turn these over and let's get some dimensionals on here. This only needs your Lifesaver just needs your tape. The other thing I need to do before I get too far, now that I've stamped, is I need to add this onto my card base. So I'm going to go ahead and do that before I get too far into this process. Sorry if that was a little bit off screen. I'm trying to keep it on screen for you. So there's that. This needs dimensionals. So if you remember, these all need dimensionals. This needs tape across the top. So I'm going to do that before I forget. Maybe if it kind of got stuck there. A little bit here, a little bit here. And then pull out my dimensionals. And this, okay, this is where, with the big one, you can do your dimensionals. And don't forget, when you do your dimensionals, that these little edge pieces work really, really well for things like this. So you can just cut them up into pieces like this. And they're the same width. And so they give you a lot of real estate. And it's like getting extra bang for your buck. Same thing here. And then I'm going to do one on each of these. And then we should be set to go. Okay. So I've got my adhesive on everything. Now I just need to peel off the backings. Really, really simple to do. If you have trouble, you can use your Take Your Pick tool to get it started. So as we said, this is going to go here. So it looks like a nice little cabin in the woods. As we're looking at it, I'm just going to kind of put this up here so we can kind of see what it looks like. I don't want to get the things on there. You can't see it, but I can. We have this sign that kind of hangs about here. And this is why. So there's dimensionals here, but adhesive here because this is already popped up. So to keep it from getting too thick. So it's going to hang down like this. This, your Lifesaver, is going to go straight across. Kind of like this. And I could have come down a little bit farther. Did I push it down? No, let's just lower this a little bit to give us a little bit more room. So see, if you don't push down too hard, you do have a little bit of wiggle room when you're using the seal and the dimensionals. So then you have this, and then so all that is left is the crossed oars. So one's going to go kind of towards the bottom, kind of at an angle. And the other ones are going to kind of get crisscrossed, just barely overlapping. So it looks like nice little things. And then we have this cute, cute, cute little Life Vest that kind of just gets put right off to the side of that. And there you go. There you have your 3 cards. I did a lot of explanation at first, but under 40 minutes, you have 3 great cards that are perfect for doing things. This one does not use any of the stone embellishments, so we are good there. Perfect for Father's Day. You can always change up the sentiments, put something else in here. Thanks, son. Maybe as a thank you card for your son. I have also taken, when we do the masculine paper pumpkins, which is usually at least once a year, and taken them and swapped them out with sympathy cards, because a lot of times our sympathy cards tend to be very floral-y, and if that's a word, floral-y, full of flowers, and that's not always appropriate if you're sending it, you know, to a guy or something like that. There could be, you know, a husband that lost his wife. I've had cousins that have lost their dad, you know, and not all my cousins are female, you know, so it's nice to send them something a little bit serene that they can think of. So these are the cards as made. You get enough to make 3 cards of each of these. If you make them as is, you can spread it out. You won't get as many of the embellishments, but you could still do some other things. Use these as alternatives. So I'm going to show you, I have done 4 alternatives already, so I'm just going to kind of share on one of those. So with the blue stripe card, I did take this and use the full card, and what I did is I turned it inside out, so to speak. This is meant to be on the outside, so not really, but I made it so instead of it folding back like this, I folded it so it was a Z fold. I used the lake house. I did Today's Your Day, Happy Father's Day of fish. And then I used that blue paper there, and I just stamped birds all over the inside. And I did put a little strip on the inside that will give me a place to write my greeting. So that is one of my alternatives that I created. Another alternative I created is similar to the bike, but I used the back of this piece. So this scene, remember, that we cut away, I used the plaid, and I used it as a background on the new Peaceful Pine paper. And I did use some of the coordinating Waterside Retreat stamps to pull out the Happy Retirement and Here's to a New Chapter, and just kind of did very simple things. I did pull in a gray granite block. It was kind of bothering me a little bit that my birds were green. It doesn't really look bad on the card, but I really wanted it to be there. All I did is I did have a square scrap of the Peaceful Pine cardstock, but it was not big enough. So in order to share, or just to make the most out of it, I did just cut it in half on the diagonal and then just matted both sides of the square just to make there. I did pop this up a little bit. So just a quick, simple card, but that's where I would have gotten, you know, potentially 2 cards out of something. And you can use designer paper or whatever, but they always make great backgrounds, you know, so just to give you an idea. With this, once again, this card front, so I took this card and made it into 3 cards using just the card base. So this was the back of that paper. I took this card base front and I actually cut it in half, so you can see that it's cut in half, or hopefully you can see it's cut in half. And I matted that once again on a trimmed down piece of this card front. So I'm kind of mixing and matching. Use that plaid strip, just the top part, which is pretty much like the water. I did take our Scenic Coast brand new stamps and stamped a little sailboat. Once again, I used that smoky slate or gray granite just to get a little bit of a shadowy effect, just to kind of provide that. Added some new in color gems for just a simple card that could be used for any occasion. I had a little bit of strip. I did stamp a Happy Father's Day on it, but just to kind of give it lots of thing or something different. This one is the bottom half of that. This background paper is actually cut from an envelope. When they give you pretty envelopes, you don't necessarily have to use envelopes. Almost all of us have a stash of envelopes. It's okay to send your card in a white envelope. So I cut it apart, cut the ends off, and use this just as a backdrop. Added some linen thread, you know, stamped my birds again in the gray granite, and then just added that for something different. So I hope you're inspired and kind of think outside the box with your paper pumpkin. Aren't afraid to try it. If you subscribe, I'd love to be your demonstrator. You can get that on my store and just do paper pumpkin. I believe currently what is in the store, so if you subscribe for May, you can get the refills for this kit. The refills do not include the stamps or the ink. But if you give it some time, usually there's a couple extra kits left over that they make for sale, but it's always the refills first before they go and sell the kits, because they do want to make sure that everybody that ordered the kit, sometimes there's problems with mailing or something does get lost in the mail. It is the post surface, so things do happen, so they do try and make sure that they can fulfill those needs before they put those kits up. So I hope you're inspired. Have a great day. Happy crafting.